I'm excited to be here. I'm here to talk about making a difference. Real quick, this is me. You can tell this picture was taken before the pandemic. Since we're apparently required to get a raise of hands for audience participation,
sorry everybody, I didn't know.
I'm from Texas, where we have a very different view of what good barbecue looks like. So raise of hands, anybody that wants to take me to dinner and show me why Carolina barbecue is better. Oh, I do have one or two. Awesome. We'll talk later. Looking forward to it. I'm a technical coach. I'm a guy that's been writing code for a long time. I've been doing infrastructure as code for a long time, been doing all kinds of stuff for a long time. But for me, as much as anything, all of this is about finding meaning and purpose and joy in what we do. Most of the time when I go talk to developers about what we're doing, what DevOps is really about, it's about not getting called at 3:15 in the morning the day after Black Friday, right? Because at a retailer, because I've gotten that phone call, right? Hey, the e-commerce site is down. Did you do something? No, I didn't, but I'll gladly help you find it. For years, I measured the difference, the meaning, purpose, and joy that I was making, the difference that I was making in terms of the code that I was actually creating, right? We all like being able to run diff, and here's the thing I did, right? Get blame is also really useful for that. But over the course of my career, I started figuring out pretty quickly that it's not the technical stuff that's hard. It's the people stuff. It's all the people stuff that actually makes a difference. And I started getting into agility and DevOps and all those things for the value that brings to making people's lives better, including making our customers' lives better and the like. But a lot of the stuff that we do feels like it's very superficial in terms of making any kind of change, right? It's like something you got on the bottom of your shoe. Did I step in some agile? What I'm much more interested in is diving a little deep and getting to something where we can create real change, and where we can make a difference in the lives of our customers, our people, and our organizations. And we do this with something we call a dojo. What's a dojo? Well, it's a space. Let's start with what the word is itself. It's a Japanese term for the place of the way. Most of you probably know it from watching Cobra Kai on Netflix as the place where the martial artists work. It so happens that I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and so I'm familiar with this. But by the way, don't be impressed. My kids both outrank me. When you have to actually say yes, ma'am, to your daughter when she tells you something to do, it's pretty humbling as a parent. But that dojo is a sacred space, the kind of space that you take your shoes off when you step into it. That you come in with a commitment and a focus to do real practice, real work, to focus and discipline and get good at what you're doing. We do the same thing with DevOps and engineering. We create environments that are, they feel like a startup. And I'll start with that. We actually had somebody that came into one of our dojos on a tour and said, hey, wow, this is kind of amazing. This feels like when I was at Facebook, not like what I usually get in my corporate environment. They're intentionally a place dedicated to doing deliberate practice, being deliberately different. We actually take people out of their normal workspace and bring them into this space where they can actually get that visceral feel, not just, I know what agility or DevOps looks like, or I took a class, I heard it, I can mentally gather it, but instead I have a feel for what it looks like, what it feels like when it's done well. And we practice. We put a lot of effort into making this a very deliberate practice. And it actually started at a large retailer based in Minneapolis, whose logo looks much like a bullseye. And we at C Prime had a couple folks that were actually there helping them build this to begin with. And it's based on some work that some of our coaches have been doing for a number of years. The basic space looks like this, and again, this is pre-pandemic and starting to be post-pandemic. We have had to do virtual in the meantime, but we'll start with the physical space here. We've got ourselves, we've got a demo lounge over here, and where teams do their end of sprint retros or demos and show each other what the work that they've been doing. And so this team here might be coming in here to do their demo of what it was they've gotten done in the last sprint. But because it's open space, you're going to get the team over here coming and participating. The team over here is going to come join as well, and we get to then see what each other is doing. We get to see oh, hey, they solved the problem that we're trying to solve. I need to talk with those guys afterwards. You get to see oh, that's really cool stuff that they're doing. That would make our life a whole lot easier. How do I go incorporate that into what we're doing? But in addition, because this is just a space, an open space surrounded, we've got teams sitting at tables. We've got whiteboards separating them. When the team over here is saying, hey, we're stuck, this API stinks, I can't get it to work, or maybe it's the continuous delivery pipeline, the tooling isn't working the way we want it to. Well, it so happens that the guys that make those tools are sitting right over here, just on the other side of the whiteboard. And now we get an opportunity for somebody over here to just slide over and say, hey, can I help you with that? We actually built something. We're the ones that build that. And so this team over here gets the help that they need from the team that actually produces the thing that they're struggling with. So they get real expertise in real time, somebody jumping into their team and contributing. But it goes the other way too, because this team over here is now getting real feedback from their customer as to the experience that they're having, and what's hard, and what can be better. And so both teams are benefiting from this fact that they're sitting next to each other, doing great work. This is one of the things that we like to talk about here for a bit, because it gets real tempting to think of this as, okay, you're going away to training. You're going to go do a dojo and learn something. Yes, you do, but it doesn't work quite like that. You come in with a challenge, something from your own work that you're going to work on during a 6-week period in the dojo. And while you're there working on that stuff that actually matters in your context, you're surrounded by coaches, technical coaches, product coaches, folks who can help you with the do it and do it well. And folks, they're player coaches who get in and get hands dirty with you. And as you do this, there is something that happens, because the very nature of the coaches and who we are and what we do means that you get product and lean and agile and innovation and DevOps just built in because it's in the air, and you can't help but learn some of it because it's just how we work. And I've seen teams that have gone from, at the very beginning, spending an inordinate amount of time on sprint ceremonies and other things, getting it down to just the minimum amount of ceremony necessary to accomplish the goal. Folks that were spending losing an entire day every sprint on planning and retros and all that stuff, getting it all done in 45 minutes and getting a lot of value out of it and moving on, focusing on what's the delivery pace, getting code all the way to production. We do this thing where we instead of doing 2-week sprints, we run them 2 sprints a week. That's a little fast, but we do that on purpose because for one, you get 12 repetitions on a 6-week challenge. That's time to learn and adapt a new process to fit you. Process serves the team, not the other way around. You adopt practices, you adapt practices, you make them fit your team and what's going to give you flow, what's going to give you the pace that you need. But it puts pressure on the system when you're running in 2 days. And you expose all the wait states, all the things where code gets stuck between that idea that we want to create, that we want to get out to the customer, and the point at which it actually starts adding value to the customer. You can't hide anything in a 2-day sprint. You can definitely hide stuff in a 2-week one. If you've got, I've had teams that had a 1.5 week timeline to get code approved and merged and ready for release. You can't hide that in a 2-day sprint. It becomes blatantly obvious, and so we get to work on it. By the way, that team that had that problem, they got it down to where they were doing a single piece flow, and they could merge and release in an hour, and it was kind of awesome. All because we put the pressure on the system and exposed that was the issue and kept it going, kept working on it. And there are some core principles to what we do. We prioritize learning over delivery. That may seem a little counterintuitive, but the fact of the matter is we focus on learning. High-performing delivery is the free gift with purchase, right? Your free gift, a little present there for you. It's the free gift with purchase along with the work you're doing. You focus on the learning, and as a result, you get to this point where you're getting better at what you do every single day. We align learning to the team's actual work. We're not doing any contrived exercises. We're not doing anything that looks like katas or whatever. We're doing their actual work. We're working on their own backlog, delivering features, delivering capabilities, improving their pipelines, improving the processes. We focus on safety and not on failure. We create this as a place where where teams can try anything. There's hardly any loss if you go do a 2-day experiment, right? We're going to try something. It's only going to cost us 2 days, right? What's the harm in that? It's easy to go to the product owner and say, hey, we want to try something. We think it's going to make our delivery faster. We think we can get the infrastructure standing up faster. We think we can get we can improve the way the deployments go. And even if we fail, what have we lost? Just 2 days. We can deal with that. That comes then to the next principle: work small and exploit feedback. It's all about the feedback loops, right? You think about the 3 ways, right? Flow, feedback, and continuous learning. We're putting all of that right straight into what we're doing. And we make everything visible. Everything that we're doing is right there in front of the team. We have with those whiteboards that are surrounding the team. You've got your Kanban boards, you've got your chartering information, you've got story maps of what is the stuff that we're working on, so that the context is right there in front of you. And there's nothing to hide and no interest in hiding anything. We use the buddy system. Just like base XP practices, we're pair programming, we're mob programming, we're doing something with other people. This helps the learning. It also provides safety. And everything we do then is peer-reviewed, checked. Being able to know that you've got code review on everything. There's always two sets of eyes on it is really useful. This next one, success depends upon commitment. This is actually one of the biggest and hardest things to deal with when we're talking about a dojo. because whether you show up and fully engage is really the primary determinant of what kind of success you have. We actually spend a long time in the intake process preparing teams for coming into the dojo to help them get that understanding that of the commitment it is to show up every day and to be committed to learning. And we reduce the capacity that's expected of them so that they can focus on that. And we get the commitment from their leadership that, they may not, some stuff may take a little longer because they're focused on learning. But the interesting thing is by the end of their dojo challenge, by the end of that 6 weeks, oftentimes their delivery has exceeded what they were delivering prior to coming into the dojo. And then with everything, we're learning things constantly. So those principles will continue to evolve as we get new experience. And all of this is about helping the teams drive their own success and developing the decision making that they need to be able to do that. A couple of impacts. We've seen one large company save $500 million on their technology spend because of the focus they put into this. By improving their architecture, improving the flow of work, improving the way the teams operate, and just learning more about how, as an organization, they can deliver quality code all the way to production on a constant basis. Another company reduced their cycle time by 25%. So on average, the teams coming through the dojo, we're reducing that time by 25%. And this particular company actually went through a series of reorgs, and a lot of the developers got shifted out of some of these areas. But even with 60% less staff, they managed to maintain the same productivity that they had before because of the improvement in flow and the improvement in the tooling and their capabilities that they developed in the dojo. Today, there are more than 50 of the Fortune 500 that are running dojos. There's actually a consortium of companies that do this. If you're interested in any of that, come talk to me afterwards. I'd be happy to connect you with folks. There are thousands of teams that have now gone through these experiences. And that's even with a pivot to virtual that we've had to do during the pandemic. It's still effective. It may not be as effective as in person, but it's still quite effective and works really well. And in some cases, there's even advantages because we're able to work with teams that don't necessarily have co-located people. So I want to talk then about one of these advantages that we've gotten out of the dojo. And this actually gets to something that's very near and dear to my heart. A friend of mine who was director over one of our clients' dojos, she gave a talk in 2019 saying, asking, where are all the women in tech? Why is it there's very, very few people that look like me? And her boss, being the awesome guy that he was, said on the flight home, said, that's pretty awesome. That was a great talk. What are you going to do about it? Which she kind of panicked a little bit and came to us on the dojo team, and we built a program. We had 2 cohorts of people, 20 in Texas and 20 in New Jersey, that we brought in as contractors to the organization. We paid them to do a coding boot camp with us in the dojo, using our dojo coaches as their guides, combining the curriculum with coaches that had experience, decades of experience developing, and ran them through this program where they learn not only how to code, but what makes code good, what makes the process work, what's the thinking that needs to go into it. And this group, they were diverse in age, gender, color, religion, experience, sexual orientation, everything you could imagine. And they were amazing, amazing people. The folks that had provided the curriculum had told us to expect 50% attrition through the program because that's what they normally get. But because of the coaching and the guidance of the dojo experience and the experienced coaches in it, they only had 10% attrition. This actually was a little bit of a problem because the company had only reserved 20 headcount based on the fact that we got 40 people, 50% attrition. We'll have 20 headcount that will hire the folks that finish the program. But they had instead of 20 folks that finished the program, they had 36. So they scrambled and managed to find another 9 headcount that they could use. Hired 29 people. But here's the important thing: 2 years later, 27 of them were still there. If you think about the turnover in software development, oftentimes it's 30 and 40%. We had less than 10% attrition over 2 years. They're now 2 years on. They are applying for second and third level engineering roles. One of my apprentices is now a cloud engineer and loving what she does. And I talked to the guy that hired her into that role, and he said, I prefer folks that have been through the program because I know they know how to learn. They've gone on, they've come out of the program where we taught them full stack JavaScript, but they've gone on to do C#, Java, Python, Ruby, AI and ML, robotic process automation, and other things. And it's a program that has changed their lives and the lives of their children and grandchildren. We've taken folks out of roles that were hourly. They were customer service reps. They were medical coders, so documentation and the like. And now they're software engineers with professional salaries, and it's changed their lives. It was the most rewarding experience I ever had the chance to coach in. And I immediately said, I want to do this again. I want to find another opportunity. Well, it turns out that we had a client come to us with an RFP asking for, hey, we've got some internal folks that are at risk of layoff. We'd like to find a way to repurpose them, and we're short on software engineers. Can you convert them? And so we did. We ran a very similar program, and one of the most amazing things about this entire experience was that we took claims adjusters from the front lines, working in the claim systems, working with customers, and we turned them into the software engineers who build the claims system. So the domain knowledge that they gained from years of being the best claims adjusters in the company is now directly impacting the systems that handle claims. They know all the places where it's hard, all the things that make it difficult for customers, all the things that can be improved, and they're the ones that get to build it. And their teams love having them on their teams. They're an injection of energy and excitement and enthusiasm and a reminder of why we do the job that we do. When this particular cohort graduated, we had a cohort of 20. The global CEO, the head of the company of a Fortune 100, maybe even a Fortune 50 company, showed up to their graduation, actually asked, can we reschedule it to a time that I can come? And he told the team directly, this was the easiest funding approval I've ever given in my life because it is good for my customers, it is good for the people, good for our employees, it's the right thing to do, and it really didn't cost that much. That same organization, of the 20 people that started the cohort, all 20 of them graduated. And a year later, 19 of them are still in their software engineering roles. One of them decided to go back to their old role. But still, it's 1 out of 20 after a year. They're continuing to do great work, and they're valued by the organization. The organization didn't have to announce a layoff. They didn't have to do any number of other things. And instead, they did something awesome for their people. And the improvements that we see in morale, I've had people stop me in the hallway to say, that's an amazing program that you're doing. I can't believe I'm at a company that would do that for its people. This is awesome. That company that did it last year, we're actually in the process of starting up the next RFP to do the next cohort. And we're super excited about this. We turned this from something we've done a couple of times into a full product offering, something we call Make Dev. I always think, yeah, I'm the command line guy, so I think in terms of command prompt, make dev, see the build script go. But for me, this is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my career. We get a chance to make a difference. I get to see the difference in teams and in the products they deliver, because the products are are built by a team that more directly reflects the people that use it. The diversity on the team reflects the diversity of the customers, and that's important and valuable that all those perspectives are included in the conversation so that the systems don't include biases that they might otherwise have. So to sum it up, there is hope. Yes, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. There is hope that you can make a difference. And we're making a difference every day. I appreciate the support and that we've gotten from our organization as well as our clients to be able to do this, to do something that has great business value, but also is really good for the people and for society as a whole. Thank you very much. Do I have time for a couple questions, or are we okay?
Can you talk more about how you do that virtually?
Yeah, so actually, there are some interesting things that happen because it's virtual. You're running everybody on Zoom, and these folks are running a self-paced curriculum, but then guided by coaches, and the coaches are getting them together, through one-on-ones, through mobbing sessions. Some of that is actually really effective on Zoom or WebEx or whatever it is that you're using. And there's actually the Zoom call is actually a great equalizer in terms of in getting everybody connected into the mob. And it's real easy. As a coach, when you're kind of in it working, you don't necessarily see everybody's faces and how engaged they are and all the different body language. But on gallery view in a Zoom call, you can actually see everybody and who is it that I need to pay more attention to, and who's struggling with it, and I can call that out a little bit better. And it actually works very effectively, and especially because of the fact that, like this last cohort, they weren't all in one location. They were scattered around the country, and it didn't matter. Great question.
How, if in any way, did you try to make the candidate selections with the insurance example? Was there any type of pre-screen to identify people that might be more susceptible to being successful, or did you just take the first 20 that came?
So, good question. So the question was, how do you know? Yeah, how did you go through the selection process? How did you know, who would be more amenable to the program? So understand that for the first program, we had 400 applicants for 40 slots. For the second, we had 5 applicants for 20 slots. So it's very much there's a huge demand for it. And you do have to kind of filter down to who do we think is going to be a good fit. What we really look for are 2 things. Do they have a passion to learn, and do they have grit? Which we actually do through an essay, essentially, of why is it that you want to do this? What's it going to mean to you? And if you have those 2 things, a desire to learn and the grit and the determination to actually push through what's actually a very difficult program, we can teach you all the rest of it. Yeah, it helps if you've got a little bit of abstract reasoning capability, logical reasoning capability, but we have ways of helping you learn that. That's actually one of the awesome things about having coaches, that we can adapt on the fly to the individual's needs. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.